Welcome back to the Sigma Prism YouTube channel. Today, we have a long-awaited guest. We have the core team from Alephium. Welcome, Alephium.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Perfect. Thank you for making the time. So for those that are unaware, Alephium is a relatively new blockchain that has a lot of great features. Before we get into the questions, what is Alephium? How would you describe it to somebody just tuning in and watching for the first time, curious about knowing what you guys are up to?
So I will take this one, and Cheng, feel free to complete. So Alephium is a layer 1 sharded blockchain that improve on Bitcoin core technology, UTXO, and proof of work to deliver energy efficient, secure, and scalable network for DApp and for dApps. Yeah, that will be kind of the summary. Maybe we can dive further in later on, but really what was important for us is to showcase that we could deliver a highly programmable and scalable infrastructure without compromising on security and decentralization.
Yeah, very relevant nowadays, huh? With all the news coming out of a lot of broken blockchains and hacks, and maybe people rushing to market without first really securing and understanding what they're building. So as a relatively new proof of work UTXO based blockchain, it seems that Alephium, much like Ergo, has chosen to build against the latest trends in the crypto industry, which involve a lot more narratives around proof of stake, energy efficiency, and account-based models. Why was it important to go back to the basics and begin building from where Bitcoin kind of left off with proof of work and UTXO-based transaction architecture?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. We choose the combo for multiple reasons. First one is the technical reason. It's really only possible to have our sharding algorithm with proof of work and the UTXO model. As we all know, it took many years for the Eastman to design its sharding algorithm, and is still in progress by today. I believe the choice of proof of stake and the account model is a big factor in the delay of Eastman or of ETH2 version 2. In addition to this, proof of work and the UTXO also have other advantages. For example, I believe proof of work is more suitable for decentralized blockchains, and the UTXO model has great security advantages because of the nature of the model protects the user's funds with lookup scripts. Regarding the current trends, my perspective is that different blockchains have different trade-offs. So you are going to choose different technology for your purpose, right? Proof of work, proof of stake, and the account model is really good for those blockchains that favors performance over decentralization over security. And I think this is a great opportunity for blockchains like us. We really put decentralization and security in the first place. Not so many projects focus on this, and we are the few ones. I think is an advantage, not a disadvantage. And another reason why this approach is less explored is because the UTXO model is really not being researched enough in the past, right? But it has great potentials, as we have been building this for many years, and we are very convinced that there are a lot of advantages of from the UTXO model. And I personally believe that the adoption of UTXO model will grow in the coming years.
Right. You touched on a very interesting point about decentralization, right? You can mine a digital asset without necessarily having to purchase it first in order to get more of it, which is a proof of stake. is it even truly possible to have a decentralized model, in your opinion, with proof of stake?
So this is a question or topic I've been discussed a lot in the past. So decentralization is a kind of there's no good definition for it.
Sure.
I'll share my perspective of it. So basically, it has two parts: the participants part and the governance part. Participants part means who can join the network, and the governance part is who is going to make the decisions. So in proof of work, most people can join the network with, for example, if you want to validate the network, you just run the for node. If you want to mine it, you have the hardware and you can mine it. In proof of staking, usually is a bit different. You need to have the coins first to become a validator to validate the network. For the full node, usually the full node for proof of stake has much higher hardware requirements than proof of work. So it means you're going to need a bit more money to run the full node. And regarding the governance, proof of work is governance minimized, while the proof of stake usually is the token owners, they control the network and they vote on proposals. And this type of governance has a lot of issues in the past. We have seen a lot in the DeFi space. Projects, they kind of get wrecked because of the governance. And there are a lot of bad or ugly stories about the governance. So if we consider what we have nowadays in the fields, proof of work basically have been tested by time that is really decentralized enough in these two parts, in terms of participants, in terms of governance. And the proof of staking is still relatively young. It's not really tested enough by a really big or large enough network. That's why I still believe proof of work is better for decentralization.
Yeah, and also for distribution of tokens or coins as well. If you come from a proof of stake background, there's somebody has to be the centralizing bank at some point to onboard new participants. Good points. So why do we need another? If we already have Bitcoin and we have so many blockchains out there, why do we need another one? What does Alephium seek to uniquely solve?
Yeah, so we have seen a lot of different kinds of blockchain with different trade-offs, like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They are very decentralized in my opinion, but they are not scalable enough. And there are other type of blockchains like Solana. They are very, has very high throughput, very high TPS, but it's not really decentralized enough in my opinion. So Alephium is trying to find a different trade-off and different design balance as we try to push the boundary of scalability and at the same time try to keep the network as decentralized as possible. And I believe that there's no other blockchains has achieved this in the past, and we are pretty unique in terms of this. And the proof of work is very essential in our tech design to achieve our goal. So that's why we want to build a new proof of work blockchain.
Perfect. And you are the man for the job. You have a lot of academic research papers that have garnered a lot of attention in the past with novel designs such as blockflow. Can you describe briefly how scalability would be benefited from the implementation of that idea and that proposal of blockflow?
Yes. So first, I'd like to start with the what is scalability and what is sharding, and then why blockflow algorithm could help with that. So scalability right now is one of the major challenge of blockchain. We have seen a lot of complaints about high gas fee, low TPS, etc. And the scalability is about solving all of such problems. There have been many proposals in the past to target this problem, and the sharding is one of the most well-known approach to solve this problem for layer one. There are other approaches like roll-ups, like zk knowledge stuff for the layer two scalability. But really, we also need to improve the scalability of layer one. And for this, sharding is still, I personally believe is the only solution right now to scale the layer one blockchains. Sharding is not a new concept, and for blockchain is actually a pretty old concept in system engineering, in computer science. Like for example, sharding is used a lot for database. Like when the service or when the website they have problems to store the data of users, they usually need to employ like many database instances to scale the blockchain. To scale the websites. And in this case, sharding is employed to basically to break up the storage into different into many instances. So it's the same for blockchain. You first you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, but then when like the adoption of the blockchain grows, you need more data, you need more execution to be executed in a certain amount of time, and then there will be a bottleneck at some point. And in this case, you want to scale it, and sharding is really the kind of the natural solution people would come up with to mitigate the bottleneck. I think it was since 2015 people have been studied to work on this solution. There have been quite a few attempts. The most well-known one is the Ethereum 2 roadmap. They have gone through a very a long journey, but still is not completely done. And I have been following this since 2016, and I personally was not very happy with the progress. That's why at the end I decided to kind of build my own version of it. I want to have a much simpler and much robust algorithm so that we can deliver it and we can keep it as simple as possible, and people can easily get the idea and people can really trust the design. So in our case, the blockflow algorithm is the sharding algorithm for this scalability challenge. Since the launch of the mainnet is running on production very well, and right now it has 16 shards, and it can provide at least 400 TPS if the blocks are fully occupied. And in the future, if we want to have more throughput, we can increase the number of groups. Therefore, we increase the number of shards. So that's the part about throughput. We're going to have more blockchains, and the throughput will be increased because of the higher capacity for storage and higher parallelism for execution. In addition to that, we have something very special for sharding. We are the first algorithm to provide the single-step cross-shard transactions. This means that we improve the scalability while not sacrificing the user experience too much. If you compare to other approaches, for example, the Ethereum 2.0, they basically need at least 2 steps for cross-shard transactions, because you need to first deposit the funds in one shard and then move it to another shard. It's not the case now on Alephium. So the user experience is going to be pretty much just like the Bitcoin or Ethereum, the nowadays the classical blockchains. So it's going to be this is going to be great for sharding. Is the I believe is the first time we can have such good scalable blockchain without sacrificing the user experience.
Perfect. How can you attract more developers to actually see the potential with Alephium and the different unique value propositions you provide versus, you know, a lot of more well-known, notable blockchains that at the end of the day, maybe developers only seek, you know, to have a prominent user base right from the get-go. I think of Solana, even if it does sacrifice on the, you know, the ethics of decentralization on Bitcoin's values.
This is not an easy question. You know, I'm an engineer, so I will answer this question from the perspective as an engineer. So if I look at projects, I will first look if the technology is solid or not. I personally, I really believe that our technology is very, very solid in this field. We have been, the network has been running for quite a long time. The whole source code is of high quality, and the SDK and the programmers, the virtual machine, they're all very innovative. So technically, I totally believe that engineers will be very interested in such kind of projects. And second, we got of like, if we think about the non-technical part of it, the projects really focus on the decentralization aspect of blockchain, which is, I think, is the core value of blockchain since the invent of Bitcoin. And we put this as a high priority of the project. And also security is a huge aspect of the whole innovation based on UTXO model, new virtual machine, new language. Yeah. And all of those can provide values for a certain kind of people, right? This will attract developers as well. And last, I think more like this is more like a financial aspect is we are a young project, right? It means there are a lot of more opportunities for young projects. There are a lot of more things to build, especially for DeFi and DApps. I believe that there will be a lot of like DApp developers. They would consider this as an opportunity, you know, to build on a new project instead of competing with the other developers on EVM or on Ethereum, right? So that could be also attractive for some devs.
Perfect.
Yeah. Maybe I can add a little bit to this answer. So on the development side, I think also the team is really focusing on building really the tooling to make it easy for new developer to be onboarded, improving the documentation. Our smart contract language is very accessible and easy to use. So we do have our own smart contract language, but it's been created with in mind that people with knowledge of other language could be onboarded easily without having too much barrier to entry. The team has been focusing also in building example dApps to showcase the capability and for people, because everything is open source, people can come in and really benefit from the work that has been done from the team. There's also been extensive effort that we are now really been working on for the past months and will continue to work on for the next few months, which is building a support system basically for anyone that wants to build on Alephium, which obviously you will see the classic grant program, bounty program, but we are also working to provide easy access to funding opportunities for people that would choose to build on Alephium. And we are also looking into providing support that is not financial, whether it is, you know, could be access to legal counsel for people launching project on Alephium and needing a little bit of help to get kickstarted, maybe some HR advice or marketing. So we're really trying to build a full-fledged support system for anyone that wants to start building on Alephium as well.
Perfect. talk to me about proof of less work. What is that about in terms of mining and energy efficiency? And how does it help to promote higher security than traditional proof of work algorithms?
I will start on this and Cheng will complete if needed. So the main goal of proof of work is really to reduce the energy consumption without sacrificing the security. So the way we do it is kind of the conceptual idea of it is quite straightforward, is once the network has reached a sufficient level of decentralization, which you can see as a high enough hash rate, miners are asked to shift part of the cost to the internal network by burning some coin. So proportionally consuming less energy. So at that point in time, it means the mining cost, the upfront cost of mining a block isn't purely energy cost, but it is energy cost combined with internal burning. The reason the security isn't compromised is because the cost of mining a new block basically continues to increase as the hash rate increases, but the energy consumption is capped. So imagine, in the near future, right? If Alephium reached the same network condition as Bitcoin, and imagine where Alephium has exactly the same network condition as Bitcoin and the same value. Where on Bitcoin you would pay 1 Bitcoin worth of energy to mine, I don't know, 1.5 Bitcoin. On Alephium, you will pay 1 Alephium, but that 1 Alephium would be composed of, you would have maybe 10% of it that would be energy cost, and you would have 90% of it that would be alpha that you would need to burn before being able to mine a block, basically. So, and you would get the same reward. So we just internalize part of the cost.
Okay.
Basically.
That actually makes perfect sense. Especially go ahead.
No, please.
The energy narrative is, in my opinion, with proof of work is very skewed. It's very manipulated. We talk about, energy is wasted with tokenizing a digital commodity in Bitcoin's case, right? But there's more to it than that unilateral side.
Exactly. I think, there's a lot of focus on the energy that is spent to validate a new block, to mine a new block. But like Cheng described in the past, decentralization isn't just how do you validate on a block, is also access to the information on the blockchain. So you have to take in, if you really want to look at, have a broader perspective on energy consumption, you also have to look at the cost of accessing information on the blockchain. And so, there is, a lot has been said on the topics. We do feel like decentralization and accessibility and trustlessness, so not having to rely on intermediary to access from blockchain information, are values that are worth protecting, but we still wanted to offer a more energy efficient take on proof of work.
Sure.
And we have actually recently published a more in-depth article on that explains a little bit more in detail in which case proof of less work is triggered, how the whole mechanism works, and any follow-up questions people might have on the topic.
Perfect. I've mentioned many times that to have value in a tokenized asset, the most logical way to do that would be to provide some sort of energy or labor like you would do in real life, right? You talk about all of the money printing in the US and inflation and things coming out of thin air because we say so. And proof of work is a good antidote to that, in my opinion. So for the tokenomics of ALF, could you explain what that looks like and what it will look like in the future?
Yeah, I can give a brief overview. So the maximum supply, the hard cap of Alephium is 1 billion ALF. It will take approximately 80 years for the total supply to be mined. The emission or mining reward depends on the hash rate and the time. What was really important for us with Alephium was to offer a fair distribution and balance of power between the ecosystem, the miners, any sales participants, and the team and treasury. So basically, at mainnet launch, we minted 40% of the maximum supply. So that's 140 million ALF. Within those 40%, those 14%, sorry, you had 8%, so 80 million ALF that were for past and future sale. Any token that were sold during those private sale are subject to on-chain vesting, on-chain vesting period between 2 to 4 years. We also have a 30 million ALF allocation for the ecosystem development. And finally, a 30 million ALF allocation for the team and the treasury. So which means that the remaining 86%, so that's 860 million ALF, will be mined over the next 80 years. Another, I think, important component of the tokenomics of Alephium is that we do have some deflationary forces at play. We burn half of the transaction fee. And as we mentioned proof of less work before, when proof of less work is triggered, there are additional coin burning as part of the, of the mining process.
Can any of that in the future be changed via soft fork? And if so, how will the governance look like for that, for decisions like such as changing how much transaction fees are burned and things of that nature? Or is it firmly set in stone, never to be changed?
So right now is a fixed value, and it's designed to be half of the transaction fee. But in the future, if people can come up, if the community can come up with a more reasonable curve for the raise, then we could just implement it. So that's open for the future. Right now, it's fixed. It's probably you're asking for something like EIP 1559 style fee mechanism, right? And that's why it's not really that's possible on us, because we have multiple blockchains, and the adjustments cannot be synced across different shards. So that's kind of not possible. Yeah. So we have to have a fixed rate for now, but maybe in the future people can come up with a better version of it, and then hard work can be used if the community is happy with it. Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go. And we are kind of different, very different from Bitcoin, as we embrace hard fork, but we don't want to do too many hard forks. We embrace hard fork because it's kind of necessary for innovation. But we are not really into the every several months is a hard fork approach that is happening on Israel. And also we are not into the Bitcoin approach that we never hard fork, and the blockchain basically is kind of the same as 10 years ago. That was also another extreme. So we try to find a good balance in between both approaches.
Right. All the code I think you mentioned is open source. Anybody could technically fork Alephium. Am I correct? Yeah,
that's true. If someone wants to fork it and build a new branch, then have a new network, then it's up to them, definitely. But right now, at the current stage, the network is still very young. It still really relies on the core team to move forward, to add new features, and that's very important at the current stage. And in the future, definitely, it's going to be more like Bitcoin and more like Ethereum. It's going to be a lot of things. It's going to be moved forward and pushed forward by the community.
For DAGs, right? Directed acyclical graphs. Why is that kind of under the radar for most blockchains to consider? Is it that it's very complicated to implement, or?
So DAG actually is a mathematical concept. It's also a data structure in computer science. It's being used in a lot of fields. It's very strange that people treat it as a buzzword in crypto, and many non-technical people just see it as a scaling solution. But actually, it's used quite a lot in a lot of systems. For example, right now in Bitcoin's code base, if you search for directed cyclic graph, you're going to find one or two of them. So that is definitely like not so kind of a rare thing in engineering. I think people have this kind of confusion is because in the past there were several projects they use DAG as a marketing words. They heavily use it, and those projects did not grow well enough. I think so. People think that the DAG is failing somehow, but in reality, I believe that most of the blockchain system nowadays have this data structure used somewhere. Yeah, especially in the memo pool of the transactions. So back to the consensus algorithm, I believe like probably almost all of the consensus algorithm that has some fork choice rules, they have to have the DAG structure in the algorithm. So in our case, we definitely have the DAG data structure, but it's not really the crucial part. Yeah, it's the crucial part is how we use the UTXO model to build the spatial dependencies of the blocks and find a efficient way to resolve the forks. So that's the core part of the algorithm. It's not the DAG data structure. Yeah, I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, no, perfect. I appreciate your thoughtful answer. A few questions come to mind while I have you that are not on paper yet.
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, I kind of, it's very, not frustrating, but a little disappointing that, you know, people like you and teams like yourselves are looking to create something serious. But if you go online and you look at the forums and what is trending with crypto and articles, it usually is very surface layer things, very, very not trivial, but oftentimes very minimal use cases for the early adopters of blockchain technology. What do you envision the future of blockchain being used for in a decentralized manner, since that's essentially, I wouldn't say the best form, but it's probably the best way to conduct a blockchain permissionlessly. So what can we do with this technology in the future past of trying to buy floor prices of NFT collections on OpenSea and things of that nature?
Okay, so I'm gonna to answer this in two parts. The first part about the kind of the current situation or the feeling of the whole space. I feel like I used to be kind of confused by how people don't really look into the tech, don't treat tech seriously enough. But now I think I get well with it because it's always the case for new technology and new revolutions. It happened in the past for internet, and now is like this for blockchain. And regarding the future of blockchain, I believe Bitcoin has proved that blockchain can be used for decentralized money, and this is huge already, right? And then Ethereum has proved that the blockchain, the smart contracts can be reused for very powerful decentralized applications. And those applications are really open financial applications and permissionless. No matter which countries you are from, you can really use the apps. You can interact with them, right? And this is not the case with the traditional banking system. And this has been proved that it can work. But now the problem, I think, is those blockchains are not really ready for massive adoption because of the scalability issue, because of user experience. and because of some of the legal stuff, legal problems. But I think these problems will gonna be mitigated and be completely solved in the future. We are working hard on the scalability parts, and also we focus on the user experience stuff. So I believe that Alephium is working towards this direction to mitigate the major problems right now. So I think the future is going to be based on the base. It's going to be very much like the evolution of internet. It starts from something looks very naive, very probably not really user friendly, and over the time they are going to be improved enough and to have great products built on top of it. And personally, for me, blockchain is the core value of blockchain is token. Everything requires a token. It's going to be a good fit for blockchain. And I don't believe storage is going to be a good use case for blockchain. That's why I don't really buy into the story of those storage blockchains. I personally really think the token stuff is the core of blockchain.
Yeah, it's a shame. From my point of view, I've had people in the business world, when I mentioned that dirty word crypto to them, they say, oh, well, my little brother told me about the Shiba Inu and everything's a Ponzi, and they don't really see they're looking at 90% of a lot of fluff and or centralized entities. Oh, I don't see why we would need that. You can't audit the companies properly. Where are the unique value propositions? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm not able to crack that wall and say, hey, there's like 5%, if we're being generous, up here that is trying to pioneer a different way of doing things. It's a shame that, early on, granted, 10, 15 years is not that long, but for technology to kind of catch on and that to be the only headline they hear it's kind of a shame. Hopefully they'll watch this interview and learn more. But apart from that, go ahead.
I think it is very natural with new technology, and specifically blockchain is full of concept and innovation that even for the people who genuinely want and try to understand are not necessarily super accessible. So while for the people that have been in there for a few years, it's been a wild ride, and it feels like it's been already 100 years if you look at all the ups and downs. We are still very much in the infancy of blockchain and what we can do. The fact that people see cryptocurrency as the same thing as blockchain just show that we are very in the beginning. But this is actually, I see this as a very exciting opportunities, especially for us, UTXO proof of work blockchain, because we have the opportunity to really create a new shift, in the blockchain evolution. And really showcase different value and things you can do with blockchain. So I think it's actually a great opportunity that we're still at that stage.
Final question, not on paper, and then we'll get into the final questions on paper. How many blockchains do we really need? I know that is kind of a tricky question to answer. But for example, if you can consider Ergo like a sister chain, or at least, a cousin or whatever, the core developer, Alex, he doesn't see a need for more than 10 or 15 chains at most. And the more I think about that, the more it kind of makes sense. Like in terms of relevancy, how many innovative blockchain tools do you need if you could have, a core 10 or 15 that just makes sense and do everything, and then you could build the layer 2s on those instead of fragmenting all of the talent that could be in the industry into like thousands of chains, which is what we have.
So I cannot give a precise number, but I really believe in the multi-chain future, because different blockchains, they have different trade-offs. Some of them, like for example, Bitcoin, they really focus on the sustainability and decentralization for the very long term. Bitcoin you can run it for another 20 years without a problem. But some of the other blockchains, they may prefer higher throughputs with some sacrifice of other aspects of the blockchain. Same for us, we make different trade-offs. And this is very natural, and this is very correct in my opinion. It's good for competition, it's good for experimentation, right? And eventually we're going to see different applications built on different blockchains, and they will be bridged together with connected together with bridges. And this is exactly what happened to databases in the past. There are many databases, and still today there are new databases people are building. For example, like before the big data was a thing, like people use single instance for database, and when big data becomes a thing, people started to build the distributed database. And still nowadays, people try to build more performant, more efficient database for different hardware, for example. So it's going to be the same for blockchain. Different blockchains are going to be suitable for different applications. And for us, I believe that right now we are standing in a kind of sweet spot when it comes to the balance between performance and decentralization and security. We have our edge, and the Solana have their edge because they are really fast enough. They have a lot of VCs supporting them, and the Bitcoin has its super advantage because it is very, very robust and very secure, and it's going to be work for the very long term. And this kind of certainty is very important for a certain type of applications and a certain type of investments, right? So for the future, we don't know. Like nobody knows how the internet will evolve in 2000, right? And same will be for blockchain. I believe that's like the whole community and the whole space will be very, very innovative in the coming years, and we'll see a lot of great products being built.
Perfect. Talking about sweet spots, your team is based out of Switzerland. Why is that?
Nice, smooth transition. I like
I've
this.
been waiting for that.
Like
I've been holding on to that.
So it is true that most of our team is located in Switzerland. I think it's because a few of us have worked together in the past in our previous lives, in previous job together. So we kind of gravitated toward each other again with Alephium. But we have people all around the world. We have people in China, Australia, Canada, Portugal, and Sweden. I think, like in general, Switzerland is a very attractive country for the blockchain space because the administration is really keen to interact with the blockchain world. Like there, you can pay taxes in Bitcoin in some canton, in some jurisdiction of Switzerland. And there is an interest from the different regulatory bodies in Switzerland to understand crypto. Yeah, and it is also a very international, an international field with very strong education network. I mean, even the team that is in Switzerland, we are all from different nationality. So there's a great melting pot of talent in Switzerland, and yeah, I would say that is why Switzerland is a little bit at the grounding place for Alephium right now.
Right. Perfect. Now, how do you envision becoming a major player? I don't think Alephium was created just to be a hobby, right? You guys want to see it succeed and be up there with the greats. What are some of the obstacles and challenges to that? And also, second part of the question, if you can hold on to the first part. Cheng, what do you think about how long would you be a part of the project if it'll outlive you? We have that problem, right, with Satoshi and Bitcoin at the beginning where you have the core members, life changes, the blockchain must go on. Do you have a timeline for that or not yet?
Not really. Sorry.
No, sorry. You can start with the second part and I'll go back to the first part afterwards.
Okay, sorry. Then I will start with my part. I personally don't really have a timeline for that because my kind of philosophy is that life and also like the world is always changing is really does not really help to make like plans for the very long term. You just do your best and you always find the best approaches for your situation, and it's the same time. It's the same for the projects. I think I will always try to do the best for the projects. If it can see that I still be the core components of the project, I will do my best. If someday like decentralization is really critical for the community, I should kind of lower my impact on the project, then I would definitely consider to kind of reduce my kind of participants in the project, but I will still focus very much on the research parts of the project for the very long term.
Yeah. And if I go back to the first part of your question, I think what we want, why Cheng built Alephium and why we're doing this is to build something that is useful and that it is so efficiently solving problems that people are encountering. So what we want at the end of the day is our technology to be providing solution to people, helping people innovate on top of Alephium. So that is really what drives us rather than anything else, building useful technology. I think you mentioned also what will be real obstacle to becoming a major player. I think something that you mentioned earlier, the fact that right now this is a challenge faced by multiple chains, right? Right now the industry is really focusing on proof of stake, the account model. So in addition to having to build good tech, and we have to demonstrate the capabilities of our technological choices. So this adds a barrier a little bit for us, but we are very confident that this is something that will naturally occur. But that will be, I think, a major challenge right now that we're kind of building a little bit in a slightly different direction than the industry.
Are there any research projects currently being undergone to see, what other concepts and theories could be implemented into Alephium, Cheng?
So right now, we pretty much focus on the engineering stuff, like trying to build up the infrastructure, try to polish them and make them really ready for massive adoption. But I have some research directions in mind that I would like to explore if I could have a lot of more time. For example, the layer 2. I personally believe that layer 2 could be really a good plus for layer 1 for the very long term. If really like massive adoption is a thing. And the second topic is ZK knowledge, and this is very hot right now in the crypto space. It can be used for layer 2. It can be used for privacy. It can also use for some specific gaming stuff. And I did some research in the past regarding zero knowledge, but I was not very convinced about that because it's not efficient enough to be executed on day 1 to verify the proofs. But things are still are slowly improving. It seems some part of it is practical today, and still some part of it need some improvements. So if I have more time, I will do some research on this topic, these topics.
Perfect. how about for cooperation for the UTXO alliance, right? It kind of seems like a very basic label that many chains in the UTXO alliance share, but at least from my point of view, I haven't seen anything really going on there. Are there any ambitions for further cooperations between other chains, right? Not being isolated on one island, if you can find shared interests and common goals with other UTXO chains in particular. That seems like the low-hanging fruit, right? Since transaction architecture is the same, for example, with Ergo and other things like that, and again, with the alliance itself.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, definitely this is something that we want to actively contribute to the growth and the of the contribution between the different partners of the alliance. I think that there are multiple areas where we'd like to contribute and like to see improvement in the alliance, where there obviously, I think, already just on the awareness aspect, if we work together to bring awareness into the validity of our technological choices, this is already something that we can push forward. I think right now, in the case of Alephium, right, we are a little bit, we are a few years younger than some of the participants in the UTXO Alliance. So on the technical side, we still have for a few months to focus on really our base infrastructure. But once this is out of the way, exploring technical collaboration is definitely something we want to do. I think something that comes up very often is the Rosen Bridge. So this is definitely something that is in our radar. But obviously, we have first to build up our own core infrastructure and toolings before we can reach that stage. But this is very much something we're looking forward. And we are actively trying to push for more joint initiative between the different members to increase the awareness within our own community, but also increase the reach beyond the existing UTXO and proof of work community.
Great. What is your take on privacy now that we have all of this hot topic of Tornado Cash and particularly in my country of birth, kind of an outlining of certain protocols built on blockchains, such as privacy mixers? We're beginning to finally see that pushback by legislation. Do you guys have any thoughts on that, and perhaps how UTXO can help with not being tracked if somebody chooses that as their right?
So maybe I answer this question. So privacy and also kind of related topic is the censorship resistance. I think is very important for blockchain. If the blockchain is kind of totally censored by the governments or centralized parties, I think it loses the point why we have blockchain nowadays, right? And regarding the UTXO model, actually it has some advantage over the account model when it comes to privacy and also the chain analysis. I did some like very initial research in the past, but I did not have the time to dive deep into this. But I'm convinced that with UTXO, we can do a lot of more things. One of the very, very important or very good use cases is that right now, for example, in Bitcoin, you can always create the new addresses for your new UTXO, so that people will have. It's going to be much harder to track or to find the connection between your UTXOs, right? This is the very easy use case, but we can do much more with multi-sig, with UTXO, with the lockup scripts. Therefore, better privacy and better like censorship resistance.
Could there be a point in time? Oh, go ahead.
Right now, it seems like part of the issues of censorship for the like Toronto Cash, for those things are partly due to the centralization of these protocols. Because, for example, the stable coin right now on Ethereum is like heavily backed by USDT and USDC. And this is an issue. If the government they want to take some actions, they can just talk to those companies like USDT, USDC, and then they can take actions on the on chain. But if the dApps or project they are truly kind of decentralized, it's going to be much harder.
Right. In the future, I think would it make sense to eventually get into a non-KYC compliant fiat onboarding tool such as a decentralized exchange in order to finally kind of achieve that ultimate goal? Because obviously the centralizing entities of exchanges are bottlenecks in terms of user adoption, and also obviously to privacy, because you have to go through gatekeepers in order to even interact with these sort of tokenized assets. And also, do you have any thoughts on decentralized stable coins where you don't have to have these official companies like the ones behind USDT and C?
Maybe I can start just on the first part of your question. So right now, one of the key focus that we are on is building a bridge. So we've been, not me, thankfully for you guys, not me, but the development team has been working on a bridge implementation that is currently gone through already a few rounds of testing. And this would allow us to be listed on decentralized exchange. So this is definitely on our roadmap and to be available on decentralized exchange.
Yeah. So regarding the DAGs and the stablecoin, there are quite a lot of like very decentralized stablecoin on Ethereum, and there are nice proposals. But there's usually a cost to be decentralized when it comes to DeFi, especially for stablecoin. Usually it means the capital that is used for to back the stablecoin, they will be less efficient, less capital efficient if the stablecoin is very decentralized. This makes a total sense because decentralization has a cost, right? So I think it is totally doable. But in this case, whenever there's a trade-off, people will have different preferences. Some people they may kind of prefer capital efficiency over decentralization, and some people may favor decentralization over capital efficiency. And we have seen in the past that the portion of these two coin owners, they are changing from in the past. Initially, like MakerDAO is very decentralized, and then gradually the collateral is kind of dominated by USDC. And now because of the sanction from the officials, people start to realize the value of decentralization. There are some growth in the value of the very decentralized blockchain decentralized stablecoin projects. So it's I think ultimately we are going to have both products and the users. They will have the option and the freedom to choose which kind of products they would like to have on and would really like to use in the future.
Right. Two questions. Again, we're done with our paper questions, so we have plenty of time, hopefully. How is this is a geopolitical type of question. Has electricity costs been affected in Switzerland by what's going on in the world and in your region of the world?
So my last electricity bill actually just came, and that hasn't, at least on the price of electricity, this I would say there was no impact so far. But you see a lot of headlines in the news that Switzerland is gearing up for potential energy scarcity during the winter. So, but they have, I mean, obviously the price of petrol has increased. That is definitely the case. But thankfully in Switzerland, how do you say this? Like the fact that the gasoline price has increased hasn't yet impacted the ability of people to pay for the rest of their things, right? It hasn't impacted their ability to go to work, or they didn't have to, it's just more expensive, but it hasn't impacted the quality of living yet here.
Right. The reason I ask is obviously as it pertains to mining and being obviously dependent on utility providers for electricity, and how that could disrupt mining as a business for some actors, out there individually. That's good to hear. I suppose what has been going on is also shedding light on the, where our fuel comes from and how dependent we are for that distribution. And since mining is so sensitive, right, the network difficulty, for example, for Bitcoin and things like that, and the price fluctuations and volatility of these assets, that's the reason I ask. I was kind of curious about that. Apart from that, for Bitcoin, what is going to happen with the fact that the miner rewards are going to be so minute, so tiny, and transaction fees aren't really that robust enough to cover, the cost for mining such a small amount of Bitcoin in, let's say, 10, 15 years, it'll be literal fractions of a 0.00 or whatever. Do you have any thoughts on that? I know I've read about different BIP proposals that suggest being kind of like the heart of a bunch of other chains and then doing all these things with transaction fees. But it's obvious that Bitcoin in its current state is not able to scale properly, and it looks like it's in a lot of trouble if they don't figure that out.
Yes, totally. It's gonna be a big problem for Bitcoin miners as you said, in probably 10, 15, or 20 years. I think like the Bitcoin community, they need to find a way when the situation gets worse. Right now, it's still okay. So like people are not keen on this, and some of the people, they don't really get the potential risks. In my opinion, probably a hard fork is good for Bitcoin, but I'm not sure if people can make this happen, because like nobody in the community seems to be nobody wants to have hard fork for Bitcoin seems. So I don't know. We will see. It's very tricky situation for Bitcoin community.
So in your opinion, what does the future look like for Alephium, and what do you have on the roadmap to accomplish? What do you seek to achieve as milestones? As your mainnet was in late 2021. It is so early.
Yeah. So for a very long term, the future, I'd like to see many innovative DApps to be built on top of Alephium, not just the traditional DeFi stuff. I will see more innovative stuff to come up, and I really want to see the whole ecosystem to benefit from the scalability and the security of our platform. I hope to see less hacks happen on Alephium, and compared to Solidity, compared to EVM. And we also believe in the multi-chain universe. So it means we are going to, Alephium is going to be connected to many other blockchains, and to be connected to the other ecosystems. And I hope I'm going to see a lot of cross-chain applications to be built as well, to improve the efficiency of the platform. And for the very near future, the most exciting thing is going to be the hard fork and the bridge. we are still trying to finalize the hard fork and the bridge. But once the hard fork is deployed and the bridge is deployed, the DAGs, stablecoin, and a lot of other things, they will become possible. And then the next chapter of Alephium will begin. So that would definitely be the most exciting milestones from my perspective.
Yeah, I think, and maybe on the less technical, I mean, like Cheng said, because we are such in the early stage, today people haven't yet really played with the innovation of our virtual machine and the ease of use of our smart contract language. So it's going to be really fun to see people discover and experience building on Alephium. And I think, I think I'm really excited on my side to see what people comes up and see how we can support them and contribute to the advancement of the blockchain space overall.
Now, the virtual machine and I assume a library of smart contracts, all of that is available right now for any developers that are curious to learn this new scripting language and to build today.
Yes, they are available, and the SDK is kind of in the shape, and we are using them to build our own DApps, like the bridge, like the NFT, and the name service. So we have 3 DApps right now is in the making, is using our tools, and we have some very draft documentation right now, and this will be improved once the whole stack is more stable. So definitely right now people can try it, but like kind of the documentation is not ideal for the moment. So it's that can be a bit of a problem, but it will be improved. So next month we're going to focus on that.
Yeah, don't worry, you're not alone. Ergo suffers from a lack of documentation as well. Anyway, with all of that being said, I would urge you, if you're watching this, to look into Alephium. They have plenty of community channels as well that I'll drop in the description. They're relatively young, so if you are interested in asking a lot of questions and things like that, the team members that are here and also the ones that aren't here are very easy to reach on these channels. So that is kind of one of the major pluses. If you have an immediate question, there's usually somebody there to help you out. So without any further ado, thank you so much to the team for introducing this blockchain. And I hope that you have much continued success and you're up there in the top 50 and where you deserve to be.
You'll definitely see more of us. And we're looking forward for people to join and on board on Alephium.
Yeah. Thank you for the great questions. Looking forward to chat more with you and with your audience.
I also have to grow my audience. So we'll get there together, I suppose. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you're all very busy, and I'm sure not only I, but the viewers appreciate your time. So thank you.
Thank you. It was a very nice experience.
Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.